Hello and welcome to another edition of the Eternal Journey. I'm the Resolves and this is Finest Argenport. So this did take down the ETS yesterday, proving that Argenport is still good and doesn't really care about what sort of nonsense it's facing down. There is an interesting inclusion in this deck and this is why I picked it up. And the deck is playing Finest Hour, although only two, so we're not really building around it. But what this does is, this allows us to have the one cost protect effect here. As if you're playing against damage based removal like Torch and especially Hailstorm, this is really going to help you be able to play around that a little bit easier. But it has the upside of being able to help you in the face of relic weapons, so you can often use Finest Hour to protect you against a Auric Runehammer, and then you've traded a 1 power spell for a Runehammer, and then on your turn you're able to swing back in and destroy it. However, the downside to Finest Hour not being a protect is that you still can be vulnerable to In Cold Blood here or other actual hard removal spells like Annihilate. Although on the topic of In Cold Blood, we are really aggressive here and we should perhaps be able to put our opponent under so much pressure that if they tap out for a 4 cost slow speed removal spell, that we should be able to make quick work of them, as we'll be able to continue adding to the board and pressuring their life totals. We're actually very light on removal here, as we've only really got the Slays here, no Vanquishes to be seen. And I think partially maybe that's why I've got a full set of Vara's favours here. And though these are really good against any beatdown matchups where your opponent's playing X1s, these are also good against some of the more controlling matchups like Armour, as you're able to pop in a carrier's Aegis and get in there with a Slay, or even just killing off an Auric Runehammer. As when you're underneath an Auric Runehammer, that can be under an incredible amount of pressure when you just want to be playing small units. You really don't want to get 2-for-1 by this card. We're also still playing the great threats here in Crownwatch Traitor and the Tavrod Auric Broker. And those make the Skycrag matchups a lot easier, as they turn off both the Permafrost and the Incendiaries, and just make it a lot harder for your opponents to actually push damage through. As well as Endurance units just being great against those sorts of decks, because you're still able to press your opponent back and you don't have to get to a point where you're actually stable before you're able to attack. The Crownwatch Traitor having the quick draw makes it incredibly difficult to block. Though it does only have 3 toughness, so it can get taken out by Torch. Basically, aside from Tavrod, everything gets hit by Torch, so it's more than fine. And if your opponent has tapped out, you can pretty safely play Crownwatch because it will be a 3-5 on their turn. Then on your turn, your opponent will get a window to respond to a Bloodletter, so you can really suit up the Crownwatch and just go ham from there on. Okay, well, at this point, we all know what Argenport does, so let's get on to those games. Okay, I'm on the draw here with actually probably reasonable hand. We'll be playing our 2-drops on turn 3, but they're both pretty much fine. And then we've got the Crownwatch Traitor and the Tavrod to follow up with. So we are pretty good against a bunch of matchups. If we're playing against like a, fast beatdown deck, we could be in some trouble. But we should be able to stall the game out with our 2 sort of hard to deal with 2-drops. We're able to get there with our Crownwatch Traitor and Tavrod. Just the Crest of Wisdom there, so it could be against like Clockroaches or something like that, but whatever our opponents saw, they kept it on top anyway. So we're going to Crest here, probably bottom any sort of power, as we've got. Okay, so Valkyrie Force is great, and that gives us a nice curve of 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we can just slot in the Ripknife Assassin wherever. I think we'll play the Crownwatch Paladin first. This dodges a removal spell. And then we are sort of punished here because the Crownwatch Paladin isn't able to get in through this, though we will be attacking for free. So I'm just going to Sabotage and play a 2-drop here. So Hailstorm, Dark Return and Wisdom of the Elders. So if I promise the Wisdom and Dark Return, that's more than fine. I'll just take the Hailstorm and get an out threat. There's an argument as well just for silencing this, but I'm pretty sure I know what this deck is, and I'd much rather silence something like a Catra. But fortunately for us, our opponent is unlikely to be able to have any sort of actual board wipes here outside of the outside of the actual hailstorm. So we should be good to go big with our Crownwatch Traitors and Tavrods. I think we are actually at the point here where we don't want our opponent just to be going ham with the camel here and it just being super good. Now they've actually got a Mask of Torment in play, so we are just going to enforce this down and just keep the pressure going. I'd perhaps much rather have just laid down the Tavrod here, but this also gives our opponent the opportunity to, if they draw a removal spell, use it on something that isn't Tavrod. As our opponent can play in Cold Blood in this deck, and I believe they actually do. As this was a top 8 deck here. And well, we've got an 8/8 Bloodletter. The Crownwatch is going to attack into anything anyway. I think we'll stick this here and just attack it with everyone here. We'll leave the Crownwatch back. There we go. So our opponent can't really just take 11 there. So we'll gain 11 instead. And our opponent does gain a power from that, sadly. But we do have an 11/11 that they do sort of need to deal with, like right now. And it looks like I should just make in another Harbinger here, as it will kill our Crownwatch now. And perhaps there's a reason to us actually attack with it. Where if they just blocked on that, that was reasonably fine for us as well. And I think now we'll just be Inquisiting Blade up. As otherwise we won't be able to attack with the Crownwatch. So opponent gets to gain a bunch, but we do get to get in for 20. I always do enjoy when the stats on Crownwatch swaps and it just becomes something absurd when you've got a Inquisitor's Blade involved. Okay, and we don't have the second Justice here for the Unseen Commando or the Runehammer, so I think this is probably just a redraw on the play. So we do have a bunch of 2-drops we'd much rather be playing early. This is not a great hand here. I think we will lead with the Shadow though. Hopefully our opponent is playing like a 5-base deck, we're able to make this Vara's Favour into an actual unit. Well, into an actual spell here. But for now, happy just to play down the Ripknife. As we can always just play the Enforcer next turn. And now I'd like to draw a Shadow because this is feeling a lot like a Primal Valkyrie deck, which is, I believe, quite a rough matchup for this deck. Just any sort of Wisdom of the Elders deck that's just able to 1-4 for a bunch of removal and just harsh rules and just able to end the game pretty quickly for Carrier is just going to be pretty rough for you. Although if they do stumble and we're able to get in there with the Sabotages, then we should be in good shape. And we drew the banner there, so I'm reasonably happy. As we're able to save this Vara's Favours skill for Runehammer. I'm going to play the Interrogator out. I'm sort of hoping that we're able to dodge a Hailstorm here. Our opponent doesn't already have the second Primal Source, although they could play it here. So I think we can actually get away with just getting in for 6 here. And if our opponent's strategizing, then we're in good shape. Yep, and I pretty much was about to say, ideally would draw the Inquisitor's Blade here, because it pulls our Interrogator out of Hailstorm range. And we do get to, it just gets to replace itself at the end of the turn. Because we will draw a card, because the Interrogator's power is now greater than 5. And a nice 5/2 hammer's pretty good here, because it also gives us a nice answer to any sort of the carriers. But I think it's pretty much just going to be crunching in for 8 here. And then I'll just keep this 6 damage here secret. Because then if our opponent does like harsh rule here, then they are dead to the Vara's Favour into the Runehammer. And that's pretty much their only out of this step is to actually harsh rule here. They could get away with perhaps like vanquish this. Yep, so I didn't find anything. Okay, we've got a lot of disruption here with the Sabotages, and the Ripknife Assassin is reasonably aggressive. So, as much as I probably shouldn't keep this hand, I do actually like it. So I'll be keeping this there. The Auric Interrogator makes it a lot better as well, because now we've got a real threat to be sticking once we've got these Sabotages through. I think we're actually just going to play out the Ripknife Assassin here, and then next turn we should be able to shred our opponent down with the Sabotages. And if our opponent has to use a spell here, well, the Who Pacify is probably going to be a little bit rough for us here, as we can't actually answer it anymore with the Runehammer. But I think we are just going to make the Interrogator here rather than using the Sabotages, just to make sure we've got things that can attack into this 3-4. So let's see what we're working with, and there's no valid cards, so just keep getting our Warcries on. I'm not just giving this away for free, but I will happily trade the 2-2 for the 5-5. I don't expect this will go super well for us, as we don't have any removal spells, and now we've got like 3 must answer threats. I believe we are dead in the air next turn, but let's show them who's boss and just chuck out the Tavrod. There we go. That's a quick game, that's what we like to see. Okay, I'm on the draw with a really power flooded hand, and the one Crest doesn't really make up for it. So I think this is an easy redraw here, especially on the draw. This isn't much better, although we do get the Crownwatch Traitor into the Inquisitor's Blade, which is pretty difficult for a lot of decks to deal with. And we've already got 4 power, so don't really need another one because we do have the 5th with the Vara's Favour anyway. I'd much rather draw like a 2-drop or a 3-drop. And if we draw an Interrogator, we're just able to land an Inquisitor's Blade in it, that'd be pretty excellent. But just play the Crest here, just bottom any power, and Unseen Commando is excellent here as well, as it turns out Crownwatch Traitors into real threats as well, as when they're 6 power quick draw units, you are going ham. Our opponent could just Purify or Torch this, but for something like a Praxis Displacer, that's sort of fine. Yep, Torch there is also okay because it sort of insulates our Crownwatch Traitors as well. Although I think after I played the first one, we'll be just playing a Inquisitor's Blade on it next. Although now drawing a Tavrod, maybe we're just going to be playing that. Yep, no blocks there, friend. So I think, yep, it's probably just making a Tavrod here. Then next turn, if our opponent makes something that's vulnerable to a Vara's Favour, like a Trailmaker, we're able to pop that off, as well as make an Inquisitor's Blade. Our opponent's just going for the... Yes, that's sort of fine. I think just so we've got the 6 power next turn, going to Vara's favour here. And our opponent's telling us they've got a fast effect. So I'm pretty much believing that that is just going to be a torch. So I'm not going to attack with the Tavrod because we will just get gobbled up by the torch plus the 5/6 here. And then next turn, my intention is, if we draw a 7th power, is to Valkyrie Enforcer and Crownwatch Traitor, but otherwise it's just going to be the Assassin plus the Enforcer. Because the Enforcer will remove Sandstorm's text, which will allow us to get in there with the Crownwatch Traitor for a nice chunk of 8 in the air. The opponent does have a second torch here, or perhaps if it is like a Tally's intervention, that'd be pretty gross. But I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be a torch, so we're just going to try and play around that. Yep, so they get rid of the Death Touch unit, well, the Deadly. But we've got a 4/8 here. I've also got some good blocks if our opponent does go to attack, but they wrap it up. Now we're going to Gemblade this anyway. Okay, we're on the play here. And if we draw a undepleted power, we're able to play out the rest of our threats pretty easily, but if we don't, we do get to Sabotage on the second turn. So I think I'm going to keep this because we'll get to Crest and try and find one. And Tavrod's good, but not when you're on 2 power. We're just, our hands full of threats already. And it looks like we're perhaps against the mirror here. So let's take the Vice Favour, doesn't really do much. But at least we know that our opponent's not on much interaction here. And taking your opponent's power sources quite early on can be pretty gross as well. We're also a little bit tight on power here. So really do need to find one. And here's perhaps an instance where the finest hour isn't going to be super excellent, but more than happy to be attacking in here. So as much as it pained me to bottom the Tavrod, I think that was definitely the correct decision here. Impending Doom, so I promise on like an older style version of this list, and here we go. So we'll just attack in here for 2. If my opponent wants to block them, I'm more than happy with that. I'm sort of regretting the decision to not slam the Sabotage last turn. But I think next time we draw a power, it could very well just be Valkyrie Force to silence this and Sabotage. The swing back we've got here is pretty good. And Tavrod's now going to be a bit of a problem for us. But we do get to keep this back. So I think that's what we'll do here. Just attacking for 3 in the air. I think we'll Sabotage if our opponent's drawing anything else, just to Vara's favour. So our opponent would have been really flooded. I think at this point, rather than just silencing the 2/2, we'll just be silencing the Tavrod so that they don't even get to attack and find a Runehammer. And then next turn we do get to attacking with the 2 flyers, as well as using the finest hour here. And I think we've sort of had enough from this 2/2. Well, our opponent's not on a clock here. So I think we can equip the Bloodletter to make a 6/6 here. That will attack for 7 because of the Crownwatch, and that makes it pretty difficult for our opponent to block here because we are going to be gaining a bunch of life. if they don't block, I'm probably just going to chuck the Finest Hour out just to gain a bunch of life so we're able to run on the crack back. As our opponent's got a virtual 12 here. This one card could be an Annihilate, which would be pretty gross, but I'm just going to give it the old Finest Hour here. Now our opponent needs to find one source of life gain. Okay, so if they found like a Bloodletter, they'll be able to stay in the game. Okay, so the influence isn't great, although I do really like the idea of, if we draw a Shadow Source, just going ham, just putting a Bloodletter and then an Inquisitor's Blade on this Crownwatch Paladin, and probably just like Voltronning it up, but unfortunately that's probably not to be, so just easy redraw there. And this is a super controlling hand here. It's not super excellent, especially for playing against the mirror here, as the Tavrod is likely just to get dealt with. But I'm also happy just to chuck these Vara's Favours away. We do desperately need a Justice Source here so we're able to play out any of our threats. So this could actually end up just being pretty much no game. But now we'll just sort of find a little bit of strength here. Just play the Shadow Sigil after the Vara's Favour. We draw a Justice Source, that's nice because we'll be able to deal this even if it's got a Bloodletter on it. That's pretty much perfect there. So we can play the Crownwatch Traitor out. It's going to be pretty resilient to a lot of our opponents' removal. If they have Slay, they have Slay. But if they just have like Vanquish in the deck, then we are able to sort of get away with this. And this will protect our Runehammers a lot better. Also, if they do just like snap off the Slay on this, okay, well, that pretty much decides that we are just going to be Runehammering here. So attack for 5. So our opponent does have a Blade with Destiny on it now, but hopefully we're able to turn this Runehammer into a nice 2-for-1. And this is pretty gross, because our opponent's got a 5-power Runehammer. So I'm sort of tempted to make the Sabotage play, but we realistically can't. Just got to make the Tavrod because there's no real way that our opponent's going to be able to turn this into an actual kill spell because we're just not blocking here, it's just too easy. And the Valkyrie Force is good, but we've still got a 5-power threat. And it's soon to be a 5-power flying threat. And they've got a Finest Hour and a Runehammer. So what's Finest Hour do from there? It makes this a 6-6. It's like 6, 9, 11. It's good but not excellent. We can just put him in a position where the Runehammer's just not good ever. So I'll just take the Finest Hour just because it actually does something. So I do sort of want to just Blade up here and attack in. But I also just want to Runehammer this. We do lose the Runehammer anyway. Yeah, let's just make an 8-8. We attack in, so our opponent probably has to block here. So do get him down. We're in quite a race here. I really need to find like a Bloodletter. But I feel like if we just sat back then, we'd just never be able to block either of these two. So we'll just be in gross shape. Okay, so our opponents put themselves at 12. And we're able to win the game then just from the 1-power. Because we're able to gain 11 there, go to 18, and our opponent needs to kill us this turn, otherwise the Interrogator will do the job for us. But they could also just kill the Interrogator after they're getting a bunch of damage here. So I'll give me a little gift and just hope for the best, and yep, it's just the Runehammer. Okay, so they're going to protect themselves because of the Runehammer, which I did know was in the hand because, well, we're still able to get in. So even though I knew full well about the Runehammer being able to protect them for a turn, probably should have kept back the Valkyrie Force here. Though, luckily for us it wouldn't have actually mattered because we did have the Runehammer. Okay, I'm in the draw here, but we've got a reasonably good hand. We've got Ripknife Assassin and Unseen Commando, which are both good in a variety of matchups. We've also got a little bit of interaction with the Finest Hour, and we do have the Bloodletter here. That'll really help us to gain some life or power units out of Hailstorm or Torch range, if that's what we really need to be doing. And we are against Feln here, so perhaps just want to try and find a Sabotage on top. But Valkyrie Force is just another threat, so we will be keeping that. I think next turn, if our opponent doesn't make a play, rather than just get 2 for 1 with a Hailstorm here, I think I'm reasonably happy just to keep up the Finest Hour, but sort of play 1 turn behind for a little while. Yeah, we'll play 1 turn behind. I really need to find a power next turn to be able to do that. So they have the Hailstorm, but we've got the Finest Hour. So you can smell it like a rat. And the reason we didn't play the Unseen Commando pre-combat was because we're going to play the Crownwatch Paladin. And then if our opponent doesn't deal with both our threats, then the Unseen Commando will just give our board +1/+1. And we'll just get in for a bajillion. So sometimes this deck's nice. I'm not feeling too great at the moment. Got a little bit of a cold here. But just any deck we're able to just ace space is something I want to be up to. And also, this deck does have a good number of Justice units in it. But we've got so many. So we just Bloodletter here. I think we do. If we just play another Aegis unit, I'll do it. So because we've got so many Justice units and we are quite aggressive, the 4 power to tap out for the Cold Blood is still, it's not really the easiest thing to do. We do have Lethal here because we've got a Bloodletter. So our opponent's in rough shape here. And I do enjoy decks that you can play that are soft to Cold Blood, but just not dead to it. And our opponent does have a 7/5 here. So I need to sort of figure out a way of just pushing it for some more damage here. But actually, our opponent doesn't have Aegis. Good. I'm just so used to seeing Champion of Cunning with Aegis that yeah, we can just attack in here. That's perfectly fine. Just probably send my opponent a message after this. Just let them know that I wasn't BMing them. Just completely missed the fact that that was a champion that wasn't fully powered up. So Hamage is reasonably good here. But we do get to just silence it out of the air, just remove the lifesteal from it, and that makes the attack here a lot nicer. So opponent can block whatever, but it just doesn't matter in the end. Okay, we do have a reasonably good hand here. We've got the Interrogator plus the Finest Hour, which is something I'd be pretty excited to see at least once. I've also got the Unseen Commando and the Vara's Favour if we're against like a fire-based beatdown deck. Nice Skycrag banner there, was it? Yeah, perfect. So hopefully we do just get to Vara's Favour a threat here. Grinding Drone not the best target, but the Owning Ronin is definitely what I'm into getting rid of. I think because we do have the Finest Hour and because the Unseen Commando is really sort of an important piece of our strategy, I will perhaps be waiting a little while to play this. We've got a bunch of other free drops, and if our opponent makes like a champion or something. Okay, so this is nice and easy. Just pop this Aegis with the intention of next turn we're just going to slay that. And If our opponent doesn't overrun the board too much, probably just Runehammer it. So, if opponent's got Permafrost, this is pretty gross for us, but I'm just going to play the Unseen Commando out with Finest Hour backup. Or just to make some blocks around here. Permafrost was pretty much what we were worried about. But we'll just block here, just get rid of this. And now next turn we'll get to double spell, but for this turn we're just going to Runehammer in here, just deal with this 3-2. And then next turn, I'm probably going to be attacking with everything, so we'll just get to select which to go for. And just need to decide between the Oni Ronin and the Incendiary. So we can either take 5 and keep our Valkyrie Enforcer, or take 4 and lose it. And I think we'd just rather just keep it at this point. Bloodletter's pretty great because next turn we'll be able to just make a huge Interrogator and gain a bunch of life. We'll be sitting back this turn. Our opponent's got a few war cries on top here, so could be some big threat, and it looks like a nice big Incendiary. That's what I want to do. I think we'll just trade the 2-1 here. I'd rather keep the fly because it makes these Grenadiers look a little bit more silly as well. Would you take a damage like this way? Pummel would have been pretty bad for us, but I'm pretty sure the Skycroak decks just don't play that card anymore. And I think just so that there's no torches happen, we'll Bloodlet this first, slay this, and then we'll get to get it for 7, and there's not going to be any combination of blocks that our opponent's able to make here. So we do get to go back to 13. And we're getting for a bunch. So fortunately we don't have to worry about anything like a Bandit Queen or anything, because our opponent is straight Skycrack here. Probably could make a Champion Fury, but the most we'll be taking is 6. So I think that was pretty much what we're to do, just attack with both. Okay, so that was Finest Argenport. I was feeling a little bit poorly there, so I made a few more mistakes than I'd like to have. But at least we managed to pick them up before they became game enders. As you can see, Argenport is still great, and I think this is perhaps one of the better decks to be picking up if you want to rise up to Masters quite early on, as an alternative to playing something like Skycrack, as the deck just feels a lot more powerful and consistent. I actually didn't find the lack of removal to be a great issue really here either, as it made us feel a lot more threat dense. We also saw that Tavrod, even when silenced, has still got a pretty good effect on the game, as those stats are pretty huge. And when you whip an Inquisitor's Blade on it, you're left with an 8/8 flyer. And it's going to be pretty easy to close out a game from there. Okay, so I pinned that results, and this was Finest Argenport.